I've been a finance guy. Growing up, my mom used to call me Munimji.
Acha.
I was honestly not very entrepreneurial in my upbringing. I was very sports oriented. First thing I wanted to be was a cricketer.
How did the name come about?
If you see the name, the Pant Pro, we're trying to be the experts at pants, the authority figure at what we do. Really the best in that category. Roti kapda makan. I think the kapda industry is not going anywhere. It's a mainstay of the Indian economy. Startup journey has multiple challenges, but it's something you only figure out each step of the way. You just get started and figure it out along the way.
What are some of the things that you learned from your family business?
My dada he was very entrepreneurial and he was a dhanda person. He always believed in doing business that had fundamentally solid economics. So today in the world of venture capital, you see a lot of people just chasing growth at any cost.
We see videos every now and then on Instagram of landfills with clothes that are like just discarded. Not even worn by anyone, but just discarded. How do you plan to bring sustainability into the ecosystem?
We're a core fashion brand. We're not trying to be fast fashion where we constantly launch new products and have them go out of style. We want to be that part of your wardrobe that you can wear every day for many years.
Somebody watching this wants to start a clothing brand, where can they source their fabric? Hey everyone, this is Shruti. Welcome to my podcast, I'm Just Curious, where I talk of all things I'm curious about with the people I'm curious about and how they turn their passion into their profession. In today's episode, I'm talking to someone who is reshaping the fashion landscape one tailored pant at a time. As the co-founder of the Pant Project, Dhruv Toshniwal is revolutionizing menswear with his focus on simplicity and timeless design while merging style and functionality seamlessly. With a focus on innovating in the apparel world by introducing anti-wrinkle and spill-proof technology into his clothing, Dhruv aims to make the Pant Project a household name in India. Get ready with me as I explore the intersection of fashion, innovation and design minimalism with Dhruv. Hi Dhruv, how are you?
Hey, doing well. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to be here at your office. We are at the Pant Project headquarters, can I call it?
Yes, and good to have you in a pair of our...
Yeah, it's very nice. Thank you so much for giving me one.
You're welcome.
Let's start from the beginning. What did you dream of as a child? Like, were your dreams always about that, I want to become an entrepreneur?
I come from a business family. My family's been in the apparel business for now over 45 years.
Nice.
And so growing up, I knew I always wanted to do business. I've been a finance guy. Growing up, my mom used to call me Munimji.
Acha.
Always been someone who's into numbers. And fortunate to have a brother who's very creative. And he's always been into art and design and marketing and branding. So I'd never know our paths would have crossed in this way, but I did always know I wanted to do business.
Right. Did you have, like, as a child, did you start any things that could make money? Because I've met kids now and then they're so entrepreneurial and they start things from now only. Like a neighbor of mine, she has a daughter and she is selling candles and making money and she's very entrepreneurial like that.
Yeah.
So did you also do some things like that?
I was honestly not very entrepreneurial in my upbringing. I was very sports oriented. So I grew up, the first thing I wanted to be was a cricketer. Until I was 10, I wanted to be a cricketer. I then took up golf. Until I was about 15, wanted to be a professional golfer. So sports has been my first love. And that's what I spent my childhood doing.
Interesting. I've heard like then this thing is common between you and I interviewed the venture capitalist Arjun. Arjun. Even he was like,
a good school friend of mine.
Yeah, even he was like, I wanted to become a cricketer. So you two have that in common. So from there, how did the Pant Project come about?
Yeah, so I went to college in the US. I was at Wharton for my undergrad. I spent 8 years from 2009 to 2017, primarily in the US and Latin America. And I'd seen consumer brands there, digital native, really growing. When I came back to India in 2018, I felt there was a huge gap in the market here for brands that were online first, really high quality product and great service. And that's really where the Pant Project came from. It came from a need to find well-fitted pants for men. And my brother and I felt there's a huge gap in the market where the legacy brands haven't done something new in this segment for the last 20 years. So it really came out of COVID too, when an online brand that launched in October 2020. And the impetus to go digital first was driven by COVID.
Right. But why specifically, did you see that, tailored pants were like hard to get for everyone? Was that the thought behind it?
Yeah, the thought was first personal. I just felt tailored pants have a lot of fit issues. You go to a local tailor. Firstly, as a guy, I used to struggle to imagine how a fabric will look like as a pant.
Right.
Secondly, it either doesn't fit on the waist or the thigh or the hip or the, length. And I felt like you needed a solution that was scalable. We're a factory-made brand.
Yeah.
We use technology. We ensure that our fits are replicable. We store data. So I wanted something that's cutting edge. But at the same time, reinventing an industry that's existed for decades. Textiles is one of the oldest industries in the country.
Yeah, I was just watching a podcast and somebody shared a very nice observation that all the current billionaires in the country have once worked in the textile industry. So, yeah, that's true. I mean, it's always been there and it's still growing.
Yeah.
But talk to me about, you said that, okay, you wanted to get into pants specifically and all of that. How did the name come about? From that itself, or did you guys do some brainstorming?
No, we definitely did a lot of research. We worked with a wonderful agency called Studio Glyph, who helped us come up with the branding and the name. And the name has many elements to it. The Pant Project, a project is something that's always evolving. You're always learning, very close to the consumer. If you see the name, the Pant Pro, we're trying to be the experts at pants, the authority figure at what we do, really the best in that category. The brackets in the logo are elements from the dictionary. We're trying to redefine the category, change the way people shop for pants. We also felt, in a crowded digital world, there's increasing competition, so many brands launching. If it's very clear what you stand for, customers know the Pant Project is pants, and we're going to be the best at that.
Right.
It's a lot like how Asics is synonymous with sneakers. We wanted to be the go-to brand for pants.
Yeah. But what did you initially, like you said, there are so many brands in the market, and how did you want to differentiate at the product level?
Yeah.
Apart from the branding?
Yeah. I think what we were going for is being the most comfortable pants in a man's wardrobe. And comfort comes from a few things. Comfort comes from fit. And we now have, 200,000 data points of fit on the Indian body type. And we can say with certainty, this is the best slim fit for the Indian male. And that was always a goal, be the most comfortable with fit.
Right.
And comfort comes from the fabric. And so the fabric has to have innovation in it, a lot of stretch, has to be breathable, wrinkle resistant, moisture wicking. So we've really taken fabric technology and innovation, much like a brand like Uniqlo or Lululemon would, very seriously, and tried to be the most comfortable pants in a man's wardrobe.
Right. Share with me some of these things that you've incorporated, these innovations, these technologies. How do you incorporate them? What is the process like, right from, say, inception or a thought that comes to your mind to final product that is being made? Yeah. What is the whole process like? Yeah,
we do a lot of testing. So even when we launched the Pant Project, we did 1,000, wearer trials before even launching our first pant. To date, we run a battery of 20 tests on any fabric to make sure, tear strength, to make sure, pilling rating, which means you won't see any bubbles on it, to make sure puckering, seam slippage, everything is up to the best of global standards. But when we get an idea, it's always driven from the consumer. We ask ourselves, what does the consumer need? And I'll give you an example. We have this pant called the All-Weather Essential Pant.
Okay.
We call it the Awesome Pant, AWE. And it's a water-repellent pant that's also breathable and machine washable. And that came from being in Mumbai in the monsoons.
Yeah.
You see people wear pants on top of their pants to get to the office.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just so inconvenient to get out of a car, bus, train, and get to the office. You get water on your pants.
Yeah.
So we said, why does a customer need to do that? Can we build a pant where water just sort of trickles off, where it's stain repellent, and it still looks like a good formal pant that you can wear to the office? So that's where the need came from. In the development, we worked with our mill over a period of 2 years to develop that fabric so that it's suitable for the Indian climate. It has the performance features. It is comfortable for the client. And, then we launched it in a small batch to test it with the customers. And so we're very research focused in our launch.
And how have you seen customer receive that?
Yeah, honestly, whenever we launch a new product, we hope for it to become a mainstay category. And a product like All-Weather Essentials is now more than 10% of our sales. Okay. So whenever we launch something, I'm wearing some of our jeans. These are really high stretch jeans. We were a brand that started off as more formal wear. We've now over time grown in casual wear. We do cargos, chinos, joggers, pants for every occasion. And jeans is something we said, we want lightweight, really comfortable, high stretch jeans with a stretch waistband that's ideal for the Indian body type. That's become more than 10% of our sales. So whenever we launch something, we want it to become, a relevant part of our business. And we double down on what we think can be bestsellers. We're a core fashion brand. We're not trying to be fast fashion where we constantly launch new products and have them go out of style. We want to be that part of your wardrobe that you can wear every day for many years.
It's timeless, basically.
Timeless fashion.
Like how jeans is. No matter what era you wear jeans in, it's going to be timeless.
Yeah. And honestly, men are our primary customers. We do also do pants for women now. That's a growing segment. It's 5 to 10% of our business. But 50% of our sales are 3 colors. And men typically shop black, gray, and navy.
Yeah.
That's it. You guessed it.
Yeah.
And the other 2 colors are khaki and olive. And I think those 5 colors you must own in your wardrobe.
Right.
So we're very much a core of the wardrobe brand.
Right. Talk to me about, how do you source fabrics? Like you said, when you have to put all of these things together, fabric becomes a very important part of it, right? So do you manufacture? Do you source it from somewhere? Like, say, somebody watching this wants to start a clothing brand, where can they source their fabrics?
Yeah, I'd say the hardest part of starting is getting out of the minimum order quantities. When you're a young brand, it's hard to work with the best suppliers. We're fortunate. We've been 45 years in the industry as a family. We know the best suppliers for each category. That's where we started. We source our linens from the best linen exporter in the country. It's European flax linen. They export primarily to Europe. We source our corduroys from the largest corduroy exporter. We make a lot of our fabrics, engineered for the brand itself. Our power stretch knit fabrics, for example, is something that we've innovated in the Indian market. Sort of the first brand to bring that to the Indian market at scale. Something that's been working abroad, but we felt that the Indian customer needed.
Right.
So we work very closely observing global trends and try to bring the best in global product to the Indian customer.
Right. So you manufacture everything in India.
Yes, we're a made in India brand.
Yeah.
And we think that, made in India for the Indian consumer is the future.
Yeah.
It's such a growing market. And I think the Indian consumer appreciates that now.
Yeah.
If they find the same quality product from an Indian brand, they would today now prefer buying the Indian brand over a foreign brand.
Yeah. There's much more pride in
Definitely.
being an Indian now more than ever.
Definitely.
So yeah,
Definitely.
that works. From that, what are some of the things that you learned from your family business? Like, what did you observe? What did you imbibe that now you utilize that in your brand?
Yeah. Something I can tell you from my dada is he was very entrepreneurial and he was a dhanda person. He always believed in, doing business that had fundamentally solid economics. So today in the world of venture capital, you see a lot of people just chasing growth at any cost.
Right.
Something we learned is from the early days, this business needs to make sense fundamentally. And when it gets to scale, obviously it'll be profitable. But even from day one, you need to see a path to that profitability.
Right.
That combined with customer centricity, I think something my dad has always enjoyed doing the most is talking to customers. And that's something I've picked up. I just really enjoy getting on customer care calls, replying to emails, being in our stores, talking to customers, and understanding what the pulse of the market is, what they want from our brand, why they buy us, why they relate to us.
Yeah.
So that's something I've really, imbibed from.
Can you share one of those calls that you attended? Like, what was somebody's concern that you...
There's very small things you pick up from customers. We had a customer who used to keep complaining that our pockets are not deep enough and they can't store their phone. Their wallet keeps falling out. They don't have space for their keys. And they're like, I just want to wear these pants when I'm traveling. I go to Singapore for 5 days. I want 2 pairs of your pants and just last for 5 days. And that's when we came up with custom-made cargo pants. And we thought, nobody's going to buy custom-made cargos. Cargos is a category that typically you buy off the rack. But from this customer feedback, we said, why don't we make these 6-pocket, super functional pants, deep pockets that can store, phone, wallet, passport, really be friendly for travel. And that pant has really taken off. It's become something. Cargos are trending anyway now in the market. But it's something we launched maybe a year before trend.
Right.
So that only comes from sort of listening to customers and then interpreting what the customer is saying into a need for the market.
Yeah. But that's a very good point. Actually, because I find sometimes myself when I wear trousers of different brands, if the pockets are not deep enough or if, it's uncomfortable in a way.
That's it.
So I think this guy made a very good point. Yeah. Talk to me about some of the, challenges that you faced in, since the beginning. How did you start? How did you, the financial part, right? How do you start a brand like clothing brand? Like you said, the textiles industry has been around since ages.
Yep.
But it's not an easy market to get into and to crack, right? And make profits. So how do you tackle that part since the beginning?
Yeah, and we started in COVID, which is the hardest time
Yeah.
to have started a business, but the best time to have started an online business.
Yeah.
There were a lot of challenges in the early days. I think the first few years of a startup are always the most challenging. There's different challenges at every stage of the journey. Initially, I would say getting product market fit is what you're really looking for. And I define that by repeat customers. Today we have half our customers coming back and shopping with us again. But when we started, we used to get the fit wrong maybe 30% of the time. And so refining our algorithms, refining our patterns, refining our understanding of fit for the Indian body type, now we get it right more than 90% of the time. But that journey of getting fit right, in terms of challenges of building a team, we were a small team. We were just 6 people when we started the company. Hiring, making sure you're getting the right specialists on board.
Right.
That's been a journey. So I think startup journey has multiple challenges, but it's something you only figure out each step of the way. You just get started and figure it out along the way.
But somebody watching, how do you get these specialists? Like, how do you reach out to them? Like, what is that process like?
Yeah, something that's really worked for me. I write every week on LinkedIn. Writing helps me clarify my thoughts. It also helps people find out about the brand and what they stand for. So LinkedIn has been a great way of hiring for us.
Right.
We obviously use the regular, job portals too, but the other best way is referrals. Once we built a strong team of 10, 15 people, our people have gotten in, people they know who are really strong in the industry. And there's nothing like a referral coming to your company. It's the best source of, high quality talent.
True. Then that they are coming with interest.
Yes.
You're not like getting them. You're not like incentivizing and getting them.
Exactly.
Right? Talk to me about some of the products that some of the brands or some of, brands that you look in the market as competition, or, how this industry is growing. Where do you see it in the coming years? And talk to me about that.
Yeah, so, I think roti, kapda, makan, I think the kapda industry is not going anywhere. It's a mainstay of the Indian economy. The consumer, I think, is evolving to want to pay for quality. I think the Indian consumer now wants the highest quality product and is looking at it as something they can wear over a long period of time. When we look at brands, we honestly benchmark ourselves to the best of global brands. In quality, trying to be up there with Calvin Klein, Levi's, Tommy Hilfiger, Uniqlo, Lululemon. Those are the sort of brands we try to provide quality like. In terms of competition, there's a huge set of brands in India, both legacy brands and upcoming brands. And I honestly welcome the competition. I say, the more brands there are, the more choice for the consumer.
Yeah.
And as a brand, you need to find what's unique about you, why customers want to buy from you, and what sets your product apart. So I think we've been very focused on pants and trying to be the best at that category. That's something customers have appreciated, and very much oriented around making sure our pants are the most comfortable. So that's something we've been known for.
You've used that as a differentiator.
Yeah.
Right? And that becomes your marketing as well.
Right.
That differentiation point
Right.
itself becomes a marketing thing.
Right. And many services too, like we offer free monogramming of your initials. You can
nice.
personalize the pant to make it yours. You can
Nice.
choose, do you want a button or a hook? Do you want to add pleats? So that customization element, is something that definitely
Yeah.
makes the customer feel like this is personal to them.
Like we talked about finances, right? And nowadays, like you said, there are a lot of because of the venture capital and stuff. What would be like, say for example, somebody starting out, thinking of starting out a clothing brand? A, what do you think they should get into? B, what should be their strategy? Like the best strategy to achieve the result that they are looking for.
Right. So what they should get into, I think it's a mix of what you're passionate about, where there's a gap in the market, and what you're best at being able to do. That would differ individual to individual. In clothing specifically, I'd say the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs making is buying too much inventory without having guaranteed sales. And the biggest killer of clothing brands is too much inventory that you have to end up discounting and end up, trying to get rid of that blocks cash. So something we did is, we kept ourselves very lean on the back end and only produced when we knew something had a high probability of selling. And I think that's something that's really important to manage as an apparel brand.
Yeah, but how do you figure that probability out?
I think initially you try starting with core styles that, make sure that if it doesn't sell now, it will sell tomorrow. And then you slowly introduce more and more fashionable product in small lots that you can test with the consumer. The beauty of being a D2C brand is you can launch something on your website. If it's working, you produce more of it. If it's not working, you stock it out and you delist it. So being agile is really important there.
Right. But you also said that, inventory, not having too much inventory. But I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, manufacturers demand that you order a certain amount of inventory or whatever, right?
Right.
So how does one, balance that? Not having too much, but at the same time, you want to get manufactured a certain number, right?
Yeah. That's the chicken and the egg problem. Honestly, I say the hardest bit of apparel brand is getting from 0 to a few crores a month.
Yeah.
Once you're at a few crores a month, your scale is big enough that any manufacturer is happy to work with you.
Yeah.
I think over there's no magic solution. I think that's why it's so hard to start an apparel brand. We're fortunate we come from the industry and we were able to get out of that, MOQ phase with support from a few manufacturers. But I think you need to find a few manufacturers who really believe in your brand. You need to have the manufacturer betting on your brand, really bought in and saying, right now this might be small business, but in the future I believe this brand is going to grow and it's, worth investing in building a relationship for the long term.
So basically, you figure out your differentiator and sell that to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
For them to believe in it, to give you that leverage or
exactly.
Whatever, everything. Yeah. That's interesting. But still, having said that, are there any examples of clothing items that you think of are upcoming, will do well, which people are not thinking of right now, but will really take off in the coming few years with technology coming in and all of that sorts?
Yeah, in clothing, I don't know if there's things that people are not thinking about. I think everyone's always thinking of starting a fashion brand. But I do think, a lot of casual products for us, like our joggers, have become a bigger part of our business. A lot of people have been athleisure. That's a movement that's coming to India for sure. I definitely think that that's something that's going to be growing. There's also a huge streetwear movement. See a lot of streetwear brands coming up in the country, something that is very cool. So trends will keep coming and going. But what we're at least trying to do is very core of the wardrobe. We want to sort of be a timeless, trendless brand.
Yeah, I feel like somewhere what you guys are trying to do and what I saw in your office as well, it's more timeless and it's more like European, Scandinavian type wardrobe.
Yeah, minimalist in design.
Minimalist,
sure.
yeah. That's the word.
Very
minimalist.
Very much.
So that's you plan to continue on that.
That's part of the ethos of the brand.
Right. Interesting. And what are some of the products, like you said, joggers and stuff? But what are some of the products that you are looking forward to launch as you grow?
Yeah, so we just launched jeans. We just have a very small collection of jeans. We definitely want to launch a lot more denims. Things like denim cargos, denim joggers, denim shorts, something that we're working on. We have a very, small athleisure range at the moment. Want to launch a lot more performance fabrics, stuff that's, heat tech, climate control, breathable. So we're going to keep working on things that are at the cutting edge of performance for the customer. And I don't think we're a sportswear brand, not going down the Nike or Puma route, but trying to be dress up or, smart casual in performance fabrics. You should feel like you're wearing a pair of pajamas, but you should look like you're in a pair of.
But that's actually what this feels like.
I'm glad.
This feels like, I'm being really honest here. This feels like it's nothing.
That's the growth.
Like I'm actually what you said. It's pajamas but pants.
Yeah. And if you ask me honestly, that's our customer profile. Our customer is honestly too busy to be thinking too much about their pants. And our customer is typically a successful or aspiringly successful person. Like the people watching this podcast, it's people who are go-getters, people who want to be the best at what they do. They're trying to be experts. They may be doctors, lawyers, bankers, entrepreneurs, whatever they are. And they relate to the brand because they say, hey, this is a brand that's solving a problem. And now I can focus on the other things in my life. Honestly, men too are not that, fashion, not that many men are that fashion conscious or sort of, I myself, I don't, really.
I think that's changing in India.
Definitely changing.
I feel like men are more...
My brother would disagree with this wholly. He's, very fashion forward. He's the designer. He's the creative in the brand.
Right.
But I think, regardless, fashion forward or not, everyone values comfort. Why would you not want to be comfortable?
Yeah, like you said, men nowadays, they're taking care of themselves, which is a good thing. That stereotype is breaking.
100%.
That fashion is only for women.
100%.
Or, taking care of themselves is only for women. Looking good and being flamboyant or something is only for women. It's changing now in a good way.
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, talk to me about, these days, like, what is your bigger vision? These days, a lot of people get investors, and then, that whole thing happens of how do you give them exit and all of that, and, that whole stuff. Or maybe there are also brands that are getting acquired
Yeah.
by other bigger brands, right? What is your goal with this? Where do you see this going in the next 5 years?
Yeah. So I'll leave investor or no investor, acquired, IPO, whatever outcome happens, I'll leave the outcome aside. I'd say the goal for us is to become a household name in pants. I really want people to think, you think pants, you think the Pant Project. And I want, if you're thinking quality in the category, the first brand that comes to mind should be Pant Project. That's something that gives us a lot of joy and pride. Something Udit and I talk about a lot is saying, we're happiest when we're at an airport and we randomly see someone wearing Pant Project. That gives us a lot of satisfaction to say this is a product that's out there in the real world, being worn by real people every single day.
That must feel so amazing.
That's what gives you satisfaction and motivation.
Like, do you have
you see the metal, you see the tab at the back,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Nice. That's a nice little detail.
And I'm also always wearing this T-shirt everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I wear it every
So
single
that
day of the week.
people know.
And yeah, so sometimes people just come up to me and say, hey, we're customers. We love your product. We've been following the brand on Instagram. So that's what's really gratifying.
Right. That's amazing. What is the perfect route? Like, is it, because there's too much, like, all these fancy terms have come in right now. So what should be the goal? Should the goal be like?
I'll talk to you about that. I think the goal is obviously as a business you have to do what's right for the business at the right time. And so we spent 3 years online only, October 2020 to 2023. We were primarily selling on our own website. We built a customer base of over 1 lakh customers on our website. And then we started launching on marketplaces. We now sell on Amazon and Myntra too. You need to be present where the customer is.
Right.
We just launched our first 2 stores in January of this year. We launched in Bandra in Bombay and in Jayanagar in Bangalore. And a big push moving forward is going to be offline retail. We want to be in all the major cities. We want to be available for touch and feel. This is a category where it's important to touch and feel the fabrics, try on for size. So if you ask me at scale, the goal is to have an omni-channel presence. We definitely want to be in the best malls in the country, in the best high street locations in the country. We want to be a brand that's available and accessible to the customer. And I'm sure if you do things right there, the business outcomes will follow. I think the core is to never lose that customer focus and continue to do things in a sequential, sensible manner. That's, the way to build it.
Focus on the basics.
Focus on the basics.
And the foundation.
Yeah.
Because that's where you built on.
Yeah.
So,
and a big challenge for consumer brands is awareness. I think digital marketing is getting increasingly expensive. Everyone is on Meta, everyone's on Google, everyone's running ads, everyone's trying to capture the same attention.
Yeah.
So being able to do that in different ways, build a community around your brand. We have a community called Pantologists.
I was just going to ask, what is the marketing setup that you guys have?
Yeah, and so Pantologists are like mixologists. Mixologists are experts at their drinks. Pantologists are people who are experts at their pants. It's an ethos also of just being the best at what you do. And I think our marketing as a whole is very young, it's fresh. If you look at the brand, we're cool, but we try to be very accessible. We're aspirational, but we're not intimidating as a brand. And that's really how we've positioned ourselves. We have customers across the ages. Our customers go right from 20 to 60, 65 years old. Our core customer is a millennial or 25, 30, 35 years old. Working professionals. These are people who have businesses or have real jobs, and they just want to be comfortable, look good in their day to day. And Pant Project, I would say, is a very small part of their lives, but at least that part of their lives is simplified. And so our goal is to for as many customers as we can, take one more problem away from their lives, let them focus on other things that,
I think that can be a very good takeaway for people, that being inclusive.
Yeah. Age and size.
Yeah, I was just going to get to that a lot of brands are focusing more on size inclusivity, more and more these days. But I think the point that you mentioned about age inclusivity also makes a lot of difference. Because it broadens your horizon.
That's it.
And everything. Yeah. Also talk to me about do you plan to expand overseas? Talk to me about how does that fit into equation, and what does it require for someone to export and stuff? Because Yeah, I think one more thing I've heard recently is that, like we even talked about before, that textile is not an easy industry right now because the margins are really cut to cut because of so much competition in the market. So one of the option is to start exporting to make revenue and make profits, right? What is your take on that?
Yeah. I think from the manufacturer's perspective, exporting is really a great way to get better margins and grow. I think from a brand perspective, we're a consumer brand. India is such a large market that it's better to be focused on one market. You see brands like Raymond's, which have, scaled to really great heights in just one country. Definitely do plan to go international someday, but I'd say, sometime in the future, you do have Indian brands like Lenskart, which now have a presence outside of India, and you have a lot of Indians overseas too. Regions like the Middle East,
Yeah.
Dubai, easy to expand to.
Yeah.
But I'd say step one for the Pant Project is to be number one in India.
Number one.
And we'd first want to focus on the Indian market. It's a massive market, such a diverse market. Each state is so different. The buying patterns in the south of India are so different from the north of India.
Really?
Sizing is so different across the country that I think India is many countries in one in itself.
Absolutely.
It's a mini Europe in terms of diversity.
True.
So we'd be focused here before we go international. But in the long term, yes, international is definitely part of the plans.
Right. Amazing. Also, what do you think about sustainability? Like, textile industry has not been known for being very sustainable.
Yeah.
We see videos every now and then on Instagram of, landfills with clothes that are like just discarded,
Yeah.
not even worn by anyone, but just discarded. What are your thoughts on that? How do you, plan to bring sustainability into the ecosystem?
Yeah, there's a few things we're doing on sustainability. I think the first thing in sustainability starts with the raw materials. You want to use sustainable raw materials. So the polyester we use is recycled polyester. It's from PET plastic bottles.
Okay.
The viscose we use is LEVA eco-certified viscose. It's from the canopy cover agreement, and that means viscose comes from a plant. Every time you extract viscose from one plant, you plant another tree so that the canopy cover or the forest cover isn't being deteriorated.
Right.
You sort of, once you make sure your raw materials are sustainable, you make sure you're using renewable energy. We have part of our factories powered by solar. Another one is water. The textile industry uses a lot of water.
Yes.
And so you make sure you don't have any, you process the water, you don't have any hazardous chemical or wastewater discharge.
Right.
You make sure you reuse the water as you can in the form of steam for energy. And then the other is, ethical manufacturing practices. You make sure you have good worker conditions. You make sure each partner in the value chain is rewarded. I think the other big one is from a consumer perspective. As you said, clothes ending up in landfills without being worn or being worn only a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that's where, I say you move away from fast fashion towards slow fashion and you buy less and you use it over longer periods of time. So that's something from a consumer perspective I see changing. I do also see consumers more and more looking at the label and looking at, what materials are used, where is this manufactured.
Right.
And so
being mindful and
being
aware,
mindful of that,
basically.
yeah.
The consumer is becoming mindful
100%.
and becoming aware more of what they're buying, what they're consuming, what they stand for, what they're promoting.
Right.
Right? And who they accept.
Yeah.
All of that together.
100%.
Right? Talking about ethical worker conditions, how do you build a team for a clothing brand?
Yeah.
What does it take? What do you look for in people? What qualities do you look for? Like we talked about hiring before as well, but what are the qualities that you look for?
Yeah. So, firstly, ethical worker conditions at the factory floor level. I think the tailors are the heart and soul of our brand. And so making sure they're working in a comfortable environment where they can be productive and they're able to dedicate the care required to stitch each pant, that's super important. From a team perspective as a startup, you need a lot of different talent. You need the best designers, the best marketeers, people in tech, people who can operate the business, processes. You need smart finance folks. So what we've gone and done is built a young team of really, what I look for is someone who has, curiosity. It's funny enough, this podcast is, I'm just curious. I look for curiosity. I look for past instances of someone having pushed themselves, tried to do something outside their comfort zone. Whether or not they've been successful doesn't matter, but just trying to, do something and be the best at what you do. I definitely look for someone who's, as much as you can filter sincerity. Something I see in the, younger generations, a lot of job switching, people working a different job every year. my genuine belief is you need 2, 3, 4, 5 years at a company to make a large impact. And the longer you stay at one place, the more familiar you get with the systems, the more you can, make an impact.
Yeah.
I do understand, you need diversified experiences, and that holds you in good stead. But something I look for is someone who has some at least continuity in their consistency in their career decisions.
Yeah.
And I think as a team, we tend to give people outsized responsibility. We're happy for people to take on challenges and really be self-motivated.
Right.
So what we built is a team of hackers, folks that will hustle and figure things out. And so a lot of our team is doing this journey 0 to 1 for the first time, and they'll make mistakes along the way, but they'll definitely do a lot of learning. And as long as you're keyed into what the customer wants and sincerely trying to fix the customer's problems, we'll eventually figure it out.
This seems to be like a common thread. The same thing was said even by this clothing brand clothing designer called Papa Don't Preach, Shubhika Sharma.
Yeah.
She also said the same thing. And now you are also saying the same thing. So I feel like there's a much bigger problem regarding this.
Yeah, I think advice I got earlier in my career was, choose your boss, work for someone who you look up to and you can learn a lot from.
Yeah.
And then choose the industry you want to be in and give it your all. And, that's something that's held me in good stead. And I think, if you're working with someone who you really enjoy working with, then, great things will come off it.
Right. True. You need to be very, long-term focused. You can't be like short-sighted if you want to create something big.
Yeah.
Right? Even like you also have this long-term vision for your brand.
100%. Yeah.
Right?
And the goal is to build a brand that lasts decades, if not centuries.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, these days we're so caught up in what's hot or not this minute, this hour, this day, this week, that we lose that sort of longer term horizon.
Right. Talk to me about how does one, create a social media presence? Social media has become such a big, important part of our lives now, right? Every brand needs to have a presence on social media.
Yeah.
How did you guys handle it? What is the of course, like you talked about what the messaging you're trying to give, but how are you executing that? What are the campaigns that you do that are working for you that you would like to share? Yeah,
something we try to be is very educational or informative in our social media. And so we try to educate customers about the different types of fabrics, their properties, what they're best for, how to style them, when to pair what with what. And I think the customer then values the brand for, being sincere about educating them about how to use the product and discovering what the right product for their body type is. Fit. That's something we spend a lot of time on, educating customers about.
And how are you doing that? Like, how
a lot of show and tell,
are you getting through that without making it seem boring or like, pushed or something?
A lot of show and tell, trying to show the stretch in our fabrics, trying to, through short videos, we try to keep everything 15, 30 seconds, a minute max in terms of educational content. And a lot of visual aesthetic. I think how something looks and feels is really important. And so our designers spend a lot of time, our marketers spend a lot of time thinking about, making sure it looks really clean and follows the aesthetic of the brand.
Right. Do you guys also do like pop-ups and stuff, like to educate in person and like, create awareness, like what the brand is and everything?
We just did one last week at WeWork.
Nice.
And we definitely pop up all across, Mumbai primarily where we're based, but looking to do that across the country.
Right. And how's the experience been? Like, what did you gain from like being right there in the moment with the customers, in person? What did you learn?
Yeah, now that we have our physical retail stores, we have an opportunity to interact daily with the customer.
Right.
And I think the feedback you get in person is just so raw on both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
When a customer walks into the store and they find something they love, you can see the delight on their face. And when they don't, you can see that disappointment too. And when you see that disappointment, you can dig a little deeper and understand why. And, from there, try to get to maybe you can't save that customer because they've already been disappointed, but learn from that and save future customers.
Can you share an example of someone walked in and shared something?
No, I'll give you an example. I mean, we offer free alterations. So if the pants don't fit you, we alter them for free. And, sometimes the customer walks into the store and they're very irate. They're like, I gave my measurements, I came here, why is this not fitting me? And there are other customers there who've never tried the brand for the first time. So they start thinking, I was thinking of buying this, but should I buy it or not?
Yeah.
Maybe it won't fit me. But then they understand, we do offer free alterations. We're sincere about, taking photos, taking measurements. We make sure when a customer does come with an alteration, we take that alteration seriously. We quickly turn it around, within 48 hours, alter and give them back their pant. And that's when they realize, okay, even if the brand doesn't get the fit right the first time, they take responsibility for it. And this is a brand that is really going to be there for me and do everything they can to try to fix the problem.
Right. But that's a very good touch that you guys give at your retail stores to offer alteration for free.
Right.
Yeah. That's a very good touch to have. So now we'll move to a little bit more fun segment, which is called Curious Quick 5. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah. What's the one thing that you're curious about lately, apart from clothing? Something completely random.
I've been really curious about this whole Gen AI movement, and specific to clothing though, synthetic influencers and how brands are using models that are AI generated. Trying different faces, trying different AI generated content, avatars for marketing. So that's something I've been thinking a lot about lately.
Do you think that's the future? That's where we are heading?
I don't know. I think there's something very real about using a real human, and I hope that's never fully replaced. But I do think for content creation, it is something that is an asset in the playbook that's worth having.
True.
If you use it the right way.
Absolutely. What's the one person that you're curious about, living or dead? It could be anyone.
I've always been fascinated by Elon Musk. Yeah, just somebody who's always pushing the boundaries of doing the most insane things possible for a company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those, I feel like Elon is like all of us that had those crazy dreams. We look up to him, like we live through him vicariously.
Yeah.
Because he goes out and executes all of that.
Yeah, and even just most lately, buying Twitter and making sure free speech is something that is protected, and it's a platform I use a lot, Twitter a lot. So
getting a lot of hate for it for no fault of his, but anyway. What's the one place you're curious to travel to?
A lot of places. I love to travel, but haven't been to Croatia, haven't been to Iceland.
Okay.
Both places I'd like to go to.
Great.
I love the outdoors. Anything in nature.
Kind of a guy. Yeah. And plus the minimalist design that.
I don't know if that's it, but just it's beautiful. I've heard it's beautiful.
Yeah. What's the one book or author you're curious about? Or it could be a designer or artist, anything.
I've read a lot of Nassim Taleb, and I just love the way he thinks about risk, the way he thinks about anti-fragility. Anti-fragile is a book I love. Systems that get stronger under stress as opposed to breaking down under stress. And skin in the game concept where as an entrepreneur you really do have skin in the game. You're really owning everything you do. So he's an author that's had a big influence in how I think about things.
Nice, very interesting. What's the one technology that you're curious about? Of course, we talked about AI, but is there anything specific that comes to your mind still?
It's more D-Tech. Like, how do I get away from my phone and get away from my laptop?
Yeah, that's also
a technology to keep me away from technology.
Yeah. Somebody else also said this, that we might need that. Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah. So we've reached the end of our conversation, and it was lovely talking to you. What are your last thoughts? Any feelings that you would like to share about being on the podcast and having this conversation? I
love the name of the podcast. I love the idea of just being curious.
Yeah.
I'd say to anyone over here, if you have questions for me, you can write to me on LinkedIn or drop me, a message at dhruv@pantproject.com. And I'm always happy to connect and, answer.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for doing this. Wish you all the success and wish Pant Project all the success. I'm wearing one right now. I love it. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Lovely being here.
Yeah. Thank you.